Welcome everyone. This is Alice Schneider. I am a PhD candidate at the University of Oslo, Norway. And in this video, I will be presenting a poster that was built together with Professor Zhang from Tsinghua University, China. Our poster, Towards More Sustainable Electronic Waste Management Systems, has two main goals. So the first goal is to present the main challenges in moving towards more sustainable e-waste or electronic waste management systems based on our findings. And the second goal is to invite you all to reflect on the recycling of e-waste in your own countries. So first, a brief contextualization. Almost 50 million tons of e-waste are generated worldwide per year, which is more than 6 kilos per person. And from all this amount, only 20% is known to be recycled through the formal sector. This poster is part of my PhD research, which focuses on 3 different countries, namely Brazil, Ghana, and China. In my research project, I take a complex adaptive systems perspective to e-waste management. So each country is perceived as a complex system with a variety of agents that are interconnected. I study this variety of agents and related processes involved in e-waste management, from the collection to the end processing of e-waste. For the data collection, I performed fieldwork in sites of interest in the 3 countries and combined observations, photography, videos, and interviews. In addition, the research is complemented through secondary data, mainly reports and legislation on e-waste management in each of the countries. So let's start by looking at the scenario in Brazil. This picture I took from one of the companies that I visited. Brazil is the largest generator in Latin America, equivalent to 1.5 million tons of e-waste per year. It is also the second largest in the Americas after the United States. Brazil relies mainly on the Política Nacional de Resíduos Sólidos, which is the national policy for solid waste that was approved 10 years ago. In addition, there are policies established on a local level by some of the municipalities. The national policy is based on the principle of shared responsibility, which is similar to the principle of extended producer responsibility, the EPR, that is in the European Union. In addition, also from February of this year, there is a decree in Brazil which focuses on the reverse logistics of e-waste. From my field studies, I had the opportunity to visit some institutions to look at the formal processes. And I observed that there are several innovative approaches to address e-waste management in the country, especially from private initiatives. The companies visited are not performing the deep recovery of metals, such as from the printed circuit boards, the PCBs. So most often, these are exported to recycling facilities in Europe for further processing. But some initiatives have been emerging to try to keep these materials on national ground. An example of this is the processing of e-waste that is performed by one of the companies in which alloys of different kinds are obtained. Now we'll look into the scenario of Ghana. This picture I took during fieldwork in Abobloshi, which is a scrap metal yard located in the capital, Accra. The country generates 39 kilotons of e-waste per year. Its legislation prohibits the importation of e-waste, but many electronics enter the country as second-hand goods, which brings an extra challenge when they become waste, since Ghana does not have the infrastructure for environmentally sound e-waste recycling. Manual processes prevail, and the PCBs are sent abroad for the deep recovery of metals. The processing of e-waste happens mainly through informal activities, which have several social and environmental impacts associated. An example of this is the open air burning of cables performed in Abu Blashi to extract copper from the cables. This causes substantial pollution in the region and several health problems, especially to the workers performing the activity. And now we'll look into our third country, which is China. This picture is from Professor Zhang and was taken in one of the recycling facilities visited. China is the largest generator of e-waste in the world, equivalent to more than 7 million tons of e-waste per year. Historically, the country has suffered significantly with the importation of e-waste and the informal processing in regions such as Guyu in southeastern China. Guyu was perceived as the largest e-waste site in the world. But by looking at the development of legislation, China has improved substantially in the last decades. For instance, the country has a fund policy established by the government in which subsidies are allocated from the producers of electronics to authorized recycling companies. Initiatives such as this have shown to bring changes in the Chinese scenario, especially through the increase of recycling activities within the formal sector. The country performs all the recycling processes on national ground, so it keeps all the resources obtained from the recycling in the country. By looking at these three countries, it has been possible to identify several differences, but also some common characteristics. So now we will go through the main challenges that were identified to move towards more sustainable e-waste management systems when we think about it from a global perspective. A common characteristic is the high costs involved, especially for the deep recovery of components. It is only by managing high amounts of e-waste that the deep recovery becomes financially viable. So to this, I connect the second point, which is the lack of financial incentives. In the case of China, establishing financial incentives for the activities has shown very positive results, while in scenarios like in Brazil, the lack of incentives is currently a hindrance for the activity. The poor connection between formal and informal activities is also a challenge, as well as the little integration among agents in the systems. Each of the e-waste management systems has a high diversity of agents that need to work together in order to obtain efficient processes. So a more holistic approach to e-waste is needed. And finally, a challenge is to understand the value of e-waste. This understanding has been emerging especially in the last years. And with this understanding, I mean looking at e-waste as a value instead of as a cost. This change towards understanding e-waste as a commodity, as a resource, is of extreme importance when moving towards more sustainable systems. I hope that you have enjoyed this presentation and that this has inspired you to reflect on the possible challenges involved with e-waste management, both as local initiatives, but also as a global phenomenon. Finally, I would like to invite you to share your own experiences and challenges with discarding and recycling e-waste in your own countries, and ways that you believe that it would be possible to do this more sustainably. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email, and thank you all for watching.